Hello, welcome back. Good to see you again. You might be wondering why I'm wearing a bow tie this time. Well, I have declared April to be bow tie month, so I'm wearing a bow tie every day here in April. Making YouTube videos is no excuse not to. I very often see black and white photos that are very kind of washed out gray and gray because not enough contrast has been added to the photo. It makes them quite flat and dull to look at, and that's really a shame because it's actually not that difficult to make black and white photos with a lot more punch in them. In this video, I will show how I make high contrast black and white photos in Lightroom. So let's take a look at that. Here's a street photo from Prague. It's a very good example of my typical street photos, which very often consists of urban decay. This is a kind of scenes that I like, often with passers-by, and in most cases where there are people walking out of the frame. For me, that adds an extra layer of story or suspense to the photo. This photo is a bit boring to look at right now. First of all, it requires a bit of cropping, as there are too many distracting elements here, like the car here and this corner down here. The most important elements to me are the wall that is being overgrown and has been painted with graffiti here. It's also the person walking here who needs to be brought a bit closer to the edge of the photo. I also think that both the pedestrian crossing here and the sign here are essential elements. So let's crop it a bit. I think somewhere around here. It also needs to be straightened a bit so that the sign here is vertical, just as the lamp post here on the opposite side of the road. So let's adjust it a bit here and get rid of a little piece of the car. Yeah, that's a good cropping, I think. And now the photo is ready to be switched to black and white. You do this by clicking the black and white button here under treatment at the top of the edit section. And here it's quite easy to see that the picture is exactly as I described in the beginning. It's flat and washed out gray and gray, very boring to look at. We need to change that. Try to see the histogram here. It's very centered around the middle. The changes we make will distribute the colors and light much more, so that more of the histogram lies here in the dark leftmost part, and even more of it in the rightmost part. You can't make a general preset for black and white photos that works for all photos. You can of course make a preset that works as a starting point, but black and white photos are a color conversion, so the result is very dependent on the primary subject. Even in a control setup like with portraits in the studio, where you have the same light setup and the same background, the result will depend on what the person is wearing, their skin tones, their hair color, their eye color, etc. The black and white settings that looks good for one portrait can very easily look awful for the next one. Therefore, it's really important to understand what it is the different settings do to the photo. So you you don't just feel lucky and go with some random black and white preset that you have found. You can go here under profiles and choose from one of Lightroom's black and white profiles. However, this is just another kind of presets. They may be fine to choose as a starting point, but my point is the same. Unless you just feel lucky and are happy with one of them, then you still need to know what you can adjust and how to do it. I will not choose any color profile here as we are doing the black and white conversion from scratch. So let's close this again. The next thing I want to do with this photo is to increase exposure. I think I will increase it quite a bit, somewhere around here, I think, and I will continue by setting the black point of the photo. To do this, you hold down the Alt key or the Option key on a Mac, and you drag the black slider here. Where the white overlay turns black, you have reached pure black on the photo, and there are no longer any details to be found inside those areas. I think I will go down here. Some will say that you only have to drag the slider down to just before you get the warnings, because you lose all the details. I don't agree with that. Pure black is also a color. In my opinion, a fair portion of a photo can be pure black. I feel exactly the same about the white point, which is the next thing we have to set. Here too, you hold down the Alt key and or the Option key on a Mac and turn up the whites until you get overexposure warnings, where the photo turns pure white without any other details in those areas. I don't want to crank up the white point so much that as large a part of the photo is pure white as I would do with the pure black. But it doesn't matter that some smaller highlights are completely blown out, like a few pieces of the visible sky here, or a few spots on the pedestrian crossing. Pure white is also a color. Embrace it, just like with pure black. Next, I will lighten the shadows to bring out more details in the dark areas, and correspondingly, I will lower the highlights to also get more details in the highlight areas. Let's start with the shadows here. I think I will go for something around here. I think, and for the highlights, I think I will go down to somewhere around here, probably. Yeah, maybe a bit more. Yeah, let's jump down to the tone curve and talk a little bit about that. Some will probably say that the tone curve is the right way to work with contrast, and that the settings under the tone sliders here are for amateurs. I think that the tone curve is a slightly old-fashioned way of doing contrast, whereas Lightroom's tone sliders make a significantly more advanced adjustment with, for instance, recovery of details in highlights and in shadows based on information in the individual color channels. You can't do that with the tone curve tool. with the tone sliders, you can also boost your shadows without losing contrast in your highlights, where the tone curve is much more of a compromise between what you least want to lose. This is not to say that it's not a useful tool. I often use it myself to just give a little more contrast, but you can easily make high contrast photos without using or understanding the tone curve tool. I probably just want to lighten my highlights a bit and lower the dark areas. Lower the dark areas a bit here. Let's try it out. See what is suitable here. Somewhere around here, I think, and. Let's lower the shadows a bit, somewhere around here. I think maybe brighten the darks a bit too. Yeah, I think that's okay. What I almost never use, however, is a contrast slider up here. It is in fact a very simplified version of the tone curve tool, and completely redundant when you adjust the contrast with the other tools here. Of course, you can use it to create a little extra punch in the end if you feel like it, but it does not introduce something that you don't get with the other tools. I almost never use it. I think my white point is a bit too high. Don't be afraid to go back and adjust some of your settings. They of course affect one another. So it's not uncommon to come back and do some extra refinements of some of the settings as you work on your photo. The last tool we need to talk about before we go for the color conversion is clarity. Clarity provides more contrast in the midtones of the photo, and it's a bit like sharpening, but it's not the same. It can give more structure to the photo, and it's very, very tempting to use it far too much. If used too much, it can give some strange looking halos around parts of your photo, and the photo will look too overcooked and too crunchy. Use it with caution. I would say that you should probably never go higher than 40, and probably closer to somewhere around 10 and 25. I think I will go for 25 in this case. Yeah, somewhere around here. The last but certainly equally important part is your black and white mix. Here you control how dark or light the different colors in the original photo should be in the black and white version of it. You can either start adjusting the individual sliders here, or you can use this little tool here to adjust the color of an area up and down. Just remember that you are not adjusting areas, you are adjusting color. So if, for instance, I adjust how dark or light the wall here should be, then it affects everywhere in the photo that consists of the same color tones as this wall. There are no set rules here. It's all about adjusting the individual colors to to suit your taste. Just experiment with the sliders or this tool here and see which parts of the photo they affect until you like it. Let's try and play around with some of the sliders here. The red it's affecting the trees a bit over here and the sign. I think I will go for, doesn't make much of a difference, but somewhere around here. Orange is affecting the wall quite a bit. Maybe I will lower it a bit here. Yeah. Yellow is it's only affecting your sign here. I think it was yellow in the original photo. Let's leave it somewhere around here. Green. It's not doing anything to the trees here. I don't think that they had any leaves on them. It's almost only affecting the same sign here. Let's leave it here. Aqua. It makes a bit of a change in some of the trees here, but not much. Blue, on the other hand, is affecting the street quite a lot here. Yeah, it could be a bit darker here. So yeah, let's go for something like this. Purple. The sign again, but not much else in the photo. Let's leave that alone for now. And magenta is a bit on the trees here, but and the sign a bit. Let's leave it. Let's leave it here. Maybe I should add that you can actually also adjust the white balance of the photo. It may not seem very obvious that you can work with white balance on a black and white photo, but keep in mind that you are actually working on a color photo. The only thing that has happened is that you have just told Lightroom that you want the colors to be translated into different shades of gray. So you can still adjust the white balance and by that change the color adjustment of the photo, which in turn affects the conversion to black and white. Let's try and adjust it a bit. Let's see what the temperature does. It affects the street, the road here quite a lot. And let's play around with the tint also. Yeah, that's impacting a lot of the areas of the photo here. I think I will change it to something like this, but leave the temperature slider on the original. Yeah. Let's do that. So we are almost done. I will probably add a vignette. So let's go down to the post crop vignetting panel here. I don't want to add a lot of vignetting. It shouldn't be obvious that a vignette was added. Just a slight vignetting to make the corners a bit darker. I will usually never add more than something in the range of -10 to -15, somewhere around here. Let's see the before and after. Yeah, it does have quite an impact, but you don't notice it as a vignette here. Finally, I also think that I want to make the frontmost part of the road here a little bit darker. I think it takes too much of the attention which should be drawn to the middle of the photo. So let's use a brush here to paint it a bit darker. Probably something like this here. Yeah, maybe a bit more. Yeah, that's a lot better. So then we're done. Let's try to compare the before and after of the photo. Now we see a comparison between the edited photo and the original color photo. What I really wanted to show you was a comparison with the first conversion to black and white. And here's a trick that you may not know. In the history panel, you can right click on any point in your history and choose that point as a basis of your comparison in the compare view. So now we are seeing the finished result over here compared to the first conversion to black and white. It's a huge difference. You can also see that the histogram view here in the top has turned out like I mentioned in the beginning. It's much wider. It has a much wider distribution, and it has a lot more in the leftmost part here, and especially in the right part of the histogram. Let's take a full screen view of the photo here, the finished photo. Well, that was all for me for today. You can of course also add some sharpening to the photo, and you could also work with dodging and burning parts of the photo, but that's outside what I wanted to show today. I will talk more about that in a future video. I hope I inspired you and that you have learned something about black and white conversions in Lightroom. And as always, feel free to ask questions in the comments, and please like and subscribe if you like my videos. Yeah, I will see you soon. Bye bye.